Further down the page, a smartly dressed, woolen-haired woman stood in front of Carter in a photo, straightening a bright, embellished pocket square sticking out of his suit jacket. The caption read, "Etta Cross prepares grandson Carter for his high school graduation." The sweetness of the image squeezed my chest, and I tamped down emotion. I knew from reading another article that his grandmother died before his junior year at Duke. Flipping back to read more, one line grabbed me. Moving up from working as a domestic in the oil fields of West Texas to owning her own home goods and design business in Dallas, Etta Cross embodied the perseverance and determination you see in Carter's game. She used to live in oil country? Could it have been in the same dusty towns where J.P. Starr got his start? It could be a coincidence. There was no more reason to assume they knew each other, except that Carter was at the office to meet with the estate lawyers and the rest of the Starr family. Etta and J.P. could be the connection. I spent an hour digging to find more information on Carter Cross Sr. and turned up little else. Carter talked about missing his father and how he taught him to be strong and to mind his mother. That's it. Carter Sr. had graduated from Texas Southern University and met his wife, Angela, there. They moved back to Dallas for his run-of-the-mill office job. Everything of note related to Carter Jr. and his basketball career, even the more recent articles about the younger man's business life. And as much as the college articles loved to talk about Etta Cross, she refused to be interviewed and was only quoted once. "I don't know why you'd want to talk to me. Unless needlepoint is a sport, he's the star," she told the reporter. Proud, smart, and humble, with a dry sense of humor. I double-clicked the high school graduation photo to get a better look at Carter's grandmother. Even though the image was in profile, I could see the pride etched in the arch of her smile as she made sure he looked his best. A few other pictures also showed the sparkle in her ginger brown eyes. In her older age, she was still an eye-catching beauty. In her youth, she would have been a stunner. Maybe she caught a young and fiery oil wildcatter's eye. It would have been an unlikely pairing, fraught with problematic dynamics. Him, a brash white upstart, known for taking risks and getting into scrapes. Her, a young black domestic worker trying to elevate her life in segregated Texas. A sick feeling settled over me looking at the photo. This woman's life, and Carter's, being gossip didn't have the same sense of fun as digging up dirt on JP. But I couldn't afford to think that way. The truth was the truth. I didn't create the stories. I just told them. Etta didn't have to be the star of the tale, but she could be the key. So this excerpt is from the end of chapter 5, and it's sort of a little bit of a meet cute before the meet cute, a little bit, just because Carter and Nisha haven't met yet. But Nisha first meets Carter when she starts doing research about him after she gets assigned by her newspaper to dig up dirt on the new executive at JP Star Energy, who is, of course, Carter. And so she's looking up a bunch of images online, and he's, the basketball hero in North Carolina, and there's all this positive stuff, and it's talking about all the charitable things he does, and there's all these pictures of him looking mighty handsome. And so Nisha kind of starts to develop a little bit of a thing for him, not only because he's handsome, which of course he is, he's a romance hero, he's handsome. But not only is he handsome, but he's also like a good person and doing these charitable things. And that connection to family is a really big thing for Nisha because, and by the time you read this part, you'll have seen that there's some problematic things in Nisha's family. What's motivating her to actually be digging up this gossip and being a tabloid reporter and all this stuff is because she needs money. She has a personal crisis. She's trying to get custody of her niece. And she doesn't have a good relationship with her sister, and she doesn't have a good relationship with her mother. And so seeing throughout the book, kind of as she sees Carter interacting with his family, she really longs for that sense of connection. And more than his handsomeness, I think it's seeing him in the context of this very tightly knit family That is part of what attracts Nisha, and then also the first thing that gives her pause about her mission in digging up all this dirt about them. And she's trying to convince herself with that line kind of toward the end of the chapter of like, I don't create the stories, I just tell them. But as the story unfolds, she starts to feel guiltier and guiltier, and it's all anchored back into the first feelings that she has in this chapter about the quality of his family and how worthy that is a thing to maintain. The other thing you kind of get in this chapter is through Nisha's description, and it's sort of a repeated sort of drumbeat throughout the book. And you don't get the solution in this book. You won't really find out totally what happens. I haven't planned until book 5. So stay tuned. But the first hint that, nobody understands how this woman, Etta, and this man, JP, when they met, how they ended up even knowing each other, being social enough to make a baby, which obviously they did because Carter Cross Sr. was born. And so it gives you a little bit of a hint of, this open question. What was the relationship between JP and Etta? And I have a scene that I wrote as backstory that I'm including just in the version of Cross My Heart that I sell on my website. But it's a scene between JP and Etta and when they first met. And so I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything like that, but I will say definitely download, if you can, buy the book from chrisjane.com, because that version of Cross My Heart is going to have that scene so you can see at the very, very beginning of JP and Etta's interactions.